It's another Sunday, and this is a signature show. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo. Today we are hosting one of those great Nigerians not scared to express their opinion about the challenges facing Nigeria. In a moment, we'll be speaking to Obong Victor Attah, two-term governor of Akwa Ibom State, who turns 85 tomorrow. Thursday, the 16th of November, was the 119th posthumous birthday of the great Zik of Africa, born in the year 1904. Zik was the president of the Nigerian Senate in 1960, first black governor general of Nigeria from 1960 to 1963, and president of Nigeria 1963 to 1966. He died on the 11th of May, 1996. When he died, he left his widow, Professor Uche Azikiwe, and many relatives. In commemoration of the anniversary of the birth of the great Zik, we bring you a short excerpt from an interview with Professor Uche Azikiwe on the great man Zik.
According to him, when he was in US and Lincoln and so on and so forth, he felt that there is nothing that can stop an African from being like the white men. Because according to him, in Lincoln, he was competing with all the whites and everything. So what's the difference? Why is it that they look down on black people? So within him, he said, I must make sure, I must prove to the white people or to Americans that blacks can make it in any field. And that was why he did law, he read sociology, almost all programs, just to garner the wealth of knowledge that's what he needed to fight when he gets back to Nigeria. And that was what led him to come back. And, newspaper here, he had chains of newspapers scattered all over Nigeria: Kanu, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Enugu, Onitsha. What for? He said it is through communication and information that you can make people understand that this is right, this is wrong, or this is the best thing for us to do. That was why he had all these news. And he made it as a journalist. He had news. Everybody, just that unfortunately West African pilot is no more there. But I'm sure if you go to London, you will see copies of West African pilot there to see what he used his newspaper to do. What for? I want my people to be free. I want my people to be free. That's all. You can now go. We are ready to take care of ourselves. So I think God had prepared him to lead Nigeria. And you see, he was not just Nigeria, even Africa, West African pilot, the bank, African Continental Bank. His view was beyond Nigeria. Yeah. He was a Pan-African. So I think God prepared him to be a leader, to lead Nigeria and Africa into freedom. His own level of patriotism, I don't think you can measure it with any other one. He didn't come here to make money. He had nothing. He left with nothing. When he passed on, it was a battle for us to pay Owakwe's fees again in US. So he didn't accumulate wealth. He went into politics after he had made it. So Zik was God sent to Africa, to Nigeria.
On the 27th of October 2023, the Nwokonta family of Ohia Egbada in Umuahia, Abia State, laid to rest their patriarch, Dave Mark Nwokonta, to rest. Pa Nwokonta died earlier in the year. The event was graced by family, friends, and well-wishers. We bring you some excerpt from that burial.
We know that you have made so much provisions for those who are living righteously in this wicked system of things. There will be an opportunity for them to come back to life. Please, we beg your spirit to be upon the speaker, Brother S.T. Okafor, who from the scriptures will help us to see the reasons why we should put our trust in your prophetic words as it concerns those who are deceived. I will pray also on behalf of all that are here to pay more than the usual attention, because they're going to learn things that will help us not to cry as those without hope.
Aspiration. Death has produced so many orphans, widows, and widowers. Death has also closed so many families that some homes are like desolate waste without any inhabitants. Death is doing all these things, and the man has no power to question death. Death has power over man. Whether you are rich or poor, whatever you are, death has authority over you. You can die at any time.
They start from the side.
My prayer is may God, Jehovah is his father, and Jehovah is the one that will reward him for all the good work he has done while he was on earth.
That man is a model, and my advice to the children, rather than mourn him, is to try to imitate his person. I think that if they do that, their life will be much, much better.
He lived a very fruitful life. He's a humble and loving father, down to earth.
90 years is not 90 days, you know? And also, I have a great joy to see that the celebration went well. That's a resolution celebration for my dad.
When he was alive, he was a very kind, gentle, just chill guy, you know? He had a big family. He was very wise and just loving and fun, just like to talk. So he's a nice guy, yes.
He's a good man. He's a man that can relate to any human being. He's a man that can accommodate. No matter your lapses, he is there to accommodate you. He is there to just take you as his own.
My dad is a peace lover. My dad is a very calm man. My dad is a very patient man. My dad knows how to manage crisis. And most importantly, my dad trained us to love God and the love word of God. That God in his mercy will forgive him all his sins and make him to be a partaker of his kingdom.
The Nwokonta family saying farewell to their patriarch Day Mark Nwokonta in Ohia Ebada, Umuahia, Abia State. And now to our interview with former governor of Akwa Ibom State, Obong Victor Attah, who turns 85 tomorrow. Your Excellency, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, man, after a very long time.
After a very long time. Obong Attah was the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, two-term governor of Akwa Ibom State. Your Excellency, you said it the way it was, such a long time. How have you been?
Well, somebody asked Bing Crosby a similar question. And you know what his answer was? He's just a lucky guy who can carry a tune, and God has been good to him. So I can say God has been good to me. In everything I've done, so I just thank God.
Oh, that's great. Tomorrow, actually, the 20th of November, you're going to be 85. And if you permit me, let me say like they do, 85 is good on you.
Thank you. And as I say, I'm really grateful that I'm as I am at 85. I thank God for that.
You know, I was very close to you when you were governor. And I don't see the difference. and that was so many years ago. So what is the secret? How have you been able to still be the same Victor Attah that I knew so many years ago?
Well, I can tell you two stories. One is about a man called Professor Jibril Aminu. He once looked at me, people were making this type of comment, said, don't mind Victor, he was born old, he cannot look any older. So that was one. And I accept the fact, because he had known me way back in the 50s in the Nigerian College of Arts, Science and Technology in Zaria. And if he could make such a statement, then it must mean that I haven't changed very much. Then, you remember, you and I were to go to Barbados one time.
Yes, yes.
I went to Barbados only about 3 years ago, and at the check-in counter, the lady there looked at my passport, looked at me, and asked, is this your passport? I said, yes. What year were you born? I said, 1938. So what have you been eating? And you know what my answer was, without hesitation? As I've been eating flying fish and cuckoo. That's the favorite food of the Barbadians. As I've been eating from flying fish and cuckoo, and she almost fell off her chair. I don't know, I just eat the normal things, do the normal things that people do, but I always moderate the things I do. And just know that anything in excess can never be good for you. And let me take this opportunity to preach to people otherwise. Exercise is a very good thing. You must exercise. I go to the physiotherapist when I can, and I do my exercises, whatever they prescribe I should do. But above all, I've always loved to swim, and I continue to swim even till today. So maybe that helps, I don't know.
Well, I think it helps, and it has helped, because looking at you, how do they Christians say that? I would take you as a point of contact.
Gladly, Vin, gladly, anytime. Yes.
You know, I know so many years ago, you and I tried to do a TV documentary of your life, and that, you know, gave me a lot of access to you. And one of the things that was very, very clear at that time was the relationship you enjoyed with your first wife, Alison.
Yes.
And I know, even though you're not a man who regrets a lot of things, but I know that one of the things that you would have wanted was Alison on your side as you age, you know. What do you miss? What do you regret? What, after you lost her a couple of years back?
You know, it was a very intimate and very close relationship. And today, I look at somebody like, what's his name? The President of America, the groundnut farmer. What is his name?
Carter.
Carter and his wife. And I look at them, and I sometimes I wish that's where I was with Alison, you know. growing old together. But God knows best. He took her when he did. And then, I always say that I'm not somebody that operates alone or something. So I needed to have a companion, and I took a second wife 3 years after Alison had died. But I don't want to go back and talk about all the years we spent together, but it was quite phenomenal. It was quite, I was very happy to have had Alison as a wife. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell so much on it, but what do you miss about Alison?
Several things. First, her sense of humor, intelligence, because a lot of things that people had ascribed to me and so on, she was the one counseling me and advising me all along. Intelligence and just being the kind of human being that she was. Very loving and able to raise the children the way she did. Do you know, at one time she gave up her job and stayed at home. People say, why do you say, my children are in the formative years. I want to give them proper formation. And not many women think about that. And then when they grew up enough to be reasonably weaned, if I can use that word, she went back to her job. So she was just that kind of a person.
You know, people that are close to you know the kind of influence that Alison wielded in your life. But she was a kind of woman that was not obstructive. You know, she was there, but you didn't see her. You know, was it something you also loved about your relationship with her?
She did not. She did not just come back and say, "Oh, It was just she knew her role, and she played it very effectively. And she knew that counseling, talking to her husband quietly, would have more effect than coming out and trying to pretend that she's the one ruling the roost, because she didn't after all rule the roost. I'm a very strong-willed, kind of stubborn person, but she had a way around, and she had a very good sense of humor. I loved her sense of humor, and she would just, even things that you think she would just quietly advise you and tell you interesting stories, anecdotes and things like that, and you get the message.
And she was also a very pretty woman.
Oh, she was, yes. What do you think attracted me to her in the first place?
How are the kids doing?
Oh, they're fine. One of them is a chartered accountant. She came back to this country. They both studied abroad. People may think, whoa, why did you send them abroad? But there's a story behind that. But let me just dwell on the children. They both studied abroad. One of them is a chartered accountant. She came back, worked in the first instance with Akintola Williams, a very strong accounting audit firm. And then later on, she joined NDIC. And then after a long while, she left NDIC and now running the family businesses. The second one is a lawyer, and he's been at the bar how many years? Quite a few years now at the bar. And he's doing well. He went into corporate law rather than going to court. And they're both doing quite well.
You were governor for 8 years in Akwa Ibom. That's so many years now. But somehow, unlike a lot of your colleagues, you're still relevant in some of the things that happen in Akwa Ibom and even in Nigeria. When you look back, is it something you did right or something you had thought about, or this is the way I have to carry myself when I have left office? What is responsible for that?
Let me use something that may sound like a cliche, but it's not. I always told people that I'm not a professional politician, but a professional in politics. And I trained as an architect and town planner. I practiced that for several years before the need came for me to go and truly serve my people. And I mean that in every real sense. Because I was 60 when I declared that I want to run. Many governors today finish governorship, 10 years later, they are still aspiring to be 60. So for me, it was something that came when the need was there, and I went and I gave it my best shot. And I'm glad, because a lot of the things that I did are still very relevant today. And so I coined this phrase that the future belongs to whoever can see possibilities before they become real. If you can see possibilities in things, and I saw a lot of possibilities, I could see what the Akwa Ibom need at the time. And thank God, at least 90% of the cases, I was right. The direction in which I took Akwa Ibom is the direction they are still following today. In spite of some of the obstacles that I met in the way, and I just decided, if I must give you an example, I decided that the modern world cannot do without electricity. And the things I wanted to bring to Akwa Ibom needed electricity. So I decided that I must give Akwa Ibom 24-hour constant power. It was a struggle. It was a real struggle because of the kind of federal, quote, I put that federal in quotes, arrangement that we have, where the center literally dictates everything that the states can do and cannot do. I was told I could not build an independent power plant. Why would I not be able to build an independent power plant? Because power is centralized. We centralize too many things, and that's where we are backward till today. I will say that over and over again. And that may be why you say I'm still relevant even in national politics, because we have not yet got back to the position. I say get back to, because we were there before. We started on that journey, then we was abruptly stopped and changed. We have not yet got back to the position where federating units can be reasonably, not reasonably, in fact, very independent, able to manage themselves, able to manage their resources, able to manage their own security, able to manage their future with whatever resources they have, and then sustain with whatever they contribute to the federal.
You know, this is a very dear topic to you, so I want to devote some time to it. Okay. But before I do, I mean, in Akwa Ibom, you brought in the big hotel, the Ibom Hotel. Yes. You brought in you started the airport. Yes. And so many other things. Yes. Were you seeing the future?
Yes, I was. And I will tell you that, again, there was a lot of interference. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing my president at the time, but I have to tell you what happened. Take those things one by one. The hotel, the president actually wrote me a letter. This wasn't just verbal. He wrote me a letter condemning the fact that I want to use Akwa Ibom state government money to build a hotel. But for me, I saw it as a frame of reference. Maybe what he thought I was going to do was something like the Gateway Hotel in Abeokuta or in Attah. I wasn't. Look at what I did there. It became the one thing that Akwa Ibom was identified with today, because I had that exposure. I was in the West Indies for 2 years doing mostly hospitality projects in hotels and some private homes and things like that. And I know what they mean to the developing world. Then and I said, look, who will land in Calabar and then drive to come and play golf in Uyo? We must have an airport. And the president also objected. To be honest with you, for me to be able to get permission, I can't imagine a federating unit going to ask for permission from the federal government to build a hotel. I had to go to the American ambassador and say to him, look, American interest is involved in this hotel. You must go with me to this inquisition, because that's what it turned out to be. It turned out to be that. The chief of defense staff was there. The chief of air staff was there. National security advisor was there. The boundary person was several, and all of them came primed to say that an airport in Uyo will be a security risk. How would an airport in Uyo be a security risk? So, my airport had been designed by an American firm, and it wasn't just a firm that designs the airport, but the firm that maintains the presidential fleet in America. Because I could see beyond just passenger traffic. And it is a U.S. Department of Trade or Commerce that did the feasibility study for me. They showed that there is a maintenance and effective MRO in Ethiopia. Could take care of that area of Africa. There's an effective maintenance facility in South Africa that takes care of that. Africa can sustain one more, and it would be good if that one were in West Africa. I buttoned onto that and decided that I want to build a maintenance airport in Akwa Ibom from the beginning. So I can tell you now, so that the world may know, the land for that airport is larger than the land for Ikeja Airport. Many people find it difficult to believe, because why it had to be that large is because they told me, if you are going to be effectively designated as a maintenance airport, it must be possible for any disabled aircraft coming in at any time to land. No question there was an accident on the runway, therefore the airport is closed. No, because you cannot turn a disabled aircraft back. So the airport must eventually have 2 runways parallel and separated by an empty space of 1.5 kilometers. So for me to be able to assemble that kind of land took a lot of effort. I was determined, and I did. And I must compliment and thank somebody called His Excellency Yoguda, who became the governor of Bauchi State. He was the Minister of Aviation at the time. And I wooed him with the fact that I was going to build an MRO. And by the time this happened, I'm talking about 2003, by this time, Nigeria had been struggling with an MRO for over 10, 12 years. Couldn't actualize it. I told him, I'm going to make you the most famous aviation minister in Nigeria, because in that time, I'm going to build an MRO. He was like, sir, please sit down. He did good. When I started opening the drawing, showing that I've already finished, where are you going to get the money from? I said, I'm going to sell my shares in Econet. And that will give me the money with which to build. I'm not going to ask you for 1 kobo. All I want is permission to do He gave me the permission even before he took the memo to the Federal Executive Council. But to tell you about obstacles, it became necessary that the runway in Akwa Ibom must be exactly parallel to the runway in Calabar, because we're only 6-7 minutes flying time from Calabar, so there must be no cross traffic. The traffic must be. And for me to achieve that with a 3.6 kilometer runway, which is the first one, the second one is expected to be 4.2 kilometers. I started with the first runway, 3.6 kilometers. For me to put that down parallel to Calabar runway, I had to cross Oron Road. And that's where I was stuck. The president came, was he praised my project to the high heavens, In fact, the first words out of his mouth were, a thing of beauty is a thing of joy forever. And I was very happy. But as we progressed, I could see that he was going in a different direction. And then finally, he turned and spoke in pidgin English. Around people who are there here, and yes, when our governor won't close on a road, because that was the road going from Uyo to Oron. Even agree, me I no go grow, entered his car and left, and that stalled my airport for over 18 months. Because I now had to find an alternative. I couldn't find an alternative site, so I had to find an alternative route for us to go from Uyo to Oron. I built the first alternative. And my president said it added 5 kilometers to the distance, and it's not acceptable to him. It's funny, because I really have to laugh now. And then I built a second But somebody else came as the Minister for Works, Senator Gunlewe. He said, Obong, you have stuff. Go and close the roads. I will answer questions. And that's how we managed to get the airport built at all. So, you see, we have to change the concept of this federation because it means people that want to develop cannot develop because the federal government does not always see the things that the way the states see them. The better example, or more even the most, is this power business. I wanted to build, we were consuming 40 megawatt of power. So I went to Lele Moka, who was the Minister for Power at the time. And so I want to build 60 megawatt. He laughed at me and said, no, Your Excellency, you want to build a power plant for Akwa Ibom? Please make it a lot larger than that. I said, why? We're only consuming 40. He said, there's something called suppressed demand. You're only consuming 40 because that's all that's available to you. That if you had a lot more than that, you will consume 2-3 times that much. So in the end, I took his advice. I built a power plant of 191 megawatt capacity. And the federal government looked at me and literally laughed. Because immediately I finished that, they brought a law to say if you generate, you cannot distribute. How can I said, look, I have a plant sitting in my backyard. The name is actually generator. Why do you allow me to generate power from that and distribute it to my house? Why don't you tell me that the power that comes from my generator should go first into national grid before they can now give it back to me? If I build a larger plant for my community, why can't I distribute to my community? No, federal government says, if you are a generator, you cannot distribute, cannot also transmit. And that's why, thank God, this government that's coming now has said the policy on power has failed, and it has failed. I'm convinced, as I speak to you, Vin, that if I was allowed to go ahead and distribute that power and boast that Akwa Ibom is the first state in this country to give 24-hour constant power to every corner of the state. Believe me, there will be electricity all over Nigeria now. Because every state will have tried to imitate it. But when I was frustrated, people didn't see the
So what happened to the power plant?
It's there. It supplies power to the national grid, which is just as inefficient, but only recently, thank God, just before Buhari left office, he now said, no, you can now distribute. So they are now trying to negotiate because now how do you disengage all the distribution lines and so who owns this, who owns that? It's a difficult problem to solve now. But it was a lot easier at the time that I was looking at this project. So the basic problem wrong with Nigeria is the composition of the federation.
That's something that really put you into a lot of trouble with President Obasanjo when you were governor.
Yes.
Because you were the arrowhead for resource control, especially...
And true federalism.
And true federalism. Let's talk more about it. As far as you're concerned, there's always been an obstacle to national development. How can we get it right? Does it mean that you're latching into this very strident demand for restructuring of the country?
If we can just be very honest with ourselves, all I'm preaching is what we always had, or what we had. And I explained myself. In 1953, Anthony Nahoro moved a motion for self-governance. The North wasn't quite ready. So it took us 7 years from 53 to 1960 to come to an agreement on what should be the thing that bind us together to keep us as a country. And it was freedom, total freedom to the federating units, which were only 3 at the time, then became 4 when Midwest region was created. And don't forget that at that time, therefore, the Western region paid people 5 shillings. The eastern region paid 3 shillings. The north paid 2 shillings. Nobody was jealous. Nobody talked about national wage. Nobody. And the West could boast free education. It didn't have to be throughout the whole country. They were able to have free education because that's what they wanted. They could boast. They were first to bring in to have television in the country. Today, if you have to go and ask federal government for permission, I'm sure the West would not have been able to say that the first, because they might have been denied. We went further. You could even have your own trade relationship outside the country. So the regions had things called agents in London. And only the one that represented all of Nigeria was called the High Commissioner. We had trade commodity boards. We had freedom. Nobody told the Western region how to use their cocoa money. Nobody told the Eastern region how to use their palm oil money. Nobody told the North how to use their groundnut and hides and skins money. They used it the best they could and paid the salaries that they could and developed the place as best they could, and there was no jealousy. Instead, there was, if you like, rivalry. I'm going to do more than you. I'm going to do more than you for my people. A typical example is, you see, there are 2 towns. It's called Oba. The other is called Askari Oba, with the road passing through them. In, I think it's Borno and one other state. Those two small towns are some of the most highly developed, because when this state builds a school, this one must build a school so that their citizens will remain. This one builds hospital, that one must build hospital. That's the kind of thing that happened in those days when we had just nice rather than jealousy. Oh, you are giving more. How can anybody distribute, even when you have more than one wife? You try and be as honest and as faithful or whatever in sharing. One will always feel you are favoring the other more than me. And there'll be jealousy, there'll be anger, and that's the strife we're having today. But I could understand, reading now, God rest his soul in peace, Professor Nwabwe said, the one man that I really admire, say, oh my God, he said he admits that he wrote to me, will have made a mistake in writing the kind of constitution they wrote in 1978. Because they saw the divisions coming because of what some of the things that had happened. That if you have a strong center, it'll be able to bind all of us together. No, it works the other way around. If you allow people to go on their own, and as we had before, that's why I say I am not preaching what didn't happen before. I'm preaching what we always had that worked for us, and it worked for us.
Yes, because I think it worked, because when you look at the achievements of the regions at that time, if you came to this, the Eastern region or you went to the West, there was a lot of development. And we didn't have this monthly ritual of federal government dashing money to the states. And
you think it worked. I know it worked. I really know and believe that it worked. And that's what I'm preaching. Let's go back to that. And I don't know why we are resisting it.
Some people argue 2 things. One, they say that some of the federating states might not be able to sustain themselves. Number 2, they say that will further divide the country and maybe lead to the actualization of those that are agitating for separation.
It cannot possibly be true. What is the problem today is that you take a state that has less than the other and force him to spend as much as the other. Because you unify the salary and amenities that governors must have. They must all fly private jets. They must all do this. That state that cannot do that is being forced to spend what it cannot afford. That's why the problem. If it had independence, it would decide that this person and people will go there to serve the state. They know that they're not going to earn as much as the governor or premier or whatever in the next state. That's why I told you about the difference between 5 shillings, 3 shillings, and 2 shillings. It was not uniform. But today, we're seeing that this uniform means There isn't uniform. The uniform opportunity, but not uniform means. The means are different, and people will live within their means and be contented. They will be contented to live within their means. So it is the only. See, everybody that's now asking, I want to go. Fundamentally, what are they saying? They are tired of being dictated to. And everybody should be tired of being dictated to. And I will add something else. Nobody will agree to remain in the union, the terms and conditions of which they don't subscribe to. That's why the agitation. But if we can say that have your independence, everybody will be quite happy to just accept the fact that, oh, we must have somebody to administer us from point of view of citizenship, currency, army, weights and measures. You know, those type of things that just the federal government should handle. Full stop. Let me try and develop myself. And if I develop myself and I'm not happy with my level of development, I blame myself. I don't come and blame somebody else.
In this arrangement you're talking about, will there still be federal allocation?
No, there's no question of allocation. You have generation. You'll be generating and then you'll pay. This side worked. Whatever, that's why there was an accountant general of the federation, distinct from the accountant general of the federal government, because the accountant general of the federal government made sure that the federal unit did not cheat the federal government in declaring how much they were making, because you take whatever you make, you keep 50%, pay 50% to the center, then the center keeps only 20%, and the other 30% he distributes again to the federating units on the basis of need. Couldn't be a better arrangement. You couldn't have a better arrangement, and it worked, and everyone was happy.
But when you say independence, a lot of people are scared.
No, there's nothing to be scared about, because none of the people say, oh, that we have been splintered now, can be. No, I really thank God that we've been splintered, because there's no one state today that can threaten the federation. No one state. Before, the regions were big enough that they could threaten and go, and you won't be able to stop them. Forget the fact that, okay, Biafra was stopped. They were reasons. But they were large enough to really tear the federation apart. But today, there's no one state that can threaten. Where would they go to? So everybody will be very happy to remain, to be sent. But then you have to make sure that that center is not in any way, doesn't even pretend in any way to be superior to the states. They must be co-equal.
There's another issue that a lot of Nigerians are worried about. They're worried about the powers of the governors. And some people have said that a lot of the challenges and refusal to even consider some of the things you're suggesting, like the federating units, like independence for the judiciary, independence for the legislature, is being stalled by 7 governors who somehow believe that they may never leave that office. That is one arm of this question. Second is, you were governor for 8 years. And today, a lot of governors get free money, in quotes, which they call security vote. And a lot of times, those monies end up at the Bureau de Changes, where they change it to dollars and keep them somewhere. Look at those two issues. How can we address it, and how can it help this country, to move forward?
The powers are given because the system gives those powers. In the past, there was nowhere a premier in the East could do half the things that any one governor today does and get away with it. And I keep giving them the example of Britain. Started with, my head is, but it started with one prime minister, one after another, in quick succession. But You go to American presidential, which I would be quick to say we are not really truly copying the American system. We just pretend because we take it and make it a Nigerian system, which is totally gross and wrong and abominable. But look at even in America. Trump was impeached but could not be removed because Senate didn't confirm. The presidential system just makes it very, very difficult for you to change a bad head of government. A different system has to be brought about that can make it for you. I'm not satisfied with you. I do not only send you away, but jail you because you stole our money.
Are you suggesting a parliamentary where
What,
you have,
I don't want to just that is only parliamentary. I believe the parliamentary system worked. If it can work again for us, why not? But if we can find another system that can bring the good qualities that we had in the parliamentary system without necessarily being political, they find it. But the parliamentary system where you elected your own representative. Today, let me not ask you because maybe you know, but I was going to ask you, do you know you are representative in the House of Reps? Quite honestly. You don't, because it's done by the party, it's done from Abuja, it's done from all kinds of manners of places that means the person does not truly represent the people. He doesn't have the people's interest because he has to do what will please the party so the party can bring him back next time. So it does not matter. The people don't matter. And yet, sovereignty is supposed to be in our hands. We are supposed to be the people are the custodians of sovereignty.
Are you blaming the Constitution for the
I
way the
am
governors
blaming the
are
Constitution.
behaving?
I'm blaming the Constitution over and over again. This Constitution that centralizes everything every day you read in the paper, oh, the governors have too much power, the president has too much power. What do we want to do about it? Nothing. But we should do something about it.
But Your Excellency, you were governor, you had those powers. I remember going with you to your village.
Yes.
And you didn't have a house.
So do you think everybody will come and not abuse the system? We have seen the abuse. Well, the abuse has even gone now to the point where it is not even the party that's even deciding. Party may take initial decision, but now the judiciary that's doing elections for us. It never happened before because you cannot come to if I'm to elect my representative, my leader from my community, we will know who we want and we'll elect him and we will hold him accountable, and if he doesn't account to us, we remove him. But you don't have that now. You don't have that in this system. So people come, they abuse this, abuse that, abuse this. And how many times, America even said it, they were laughing at us. So many cases will hang in the court for 10 years, 20 years, then you forget about it. How many people have ever been prosecuted? How many of those that are prosecuted have ever been penalized? For what? It doesn't happen in Nigeria. So if you don't punish for wrongdoing, wrongdoing will continue to grow.
You know, I'm really interested in what you said about the judiciary taking over our democracy. But some people say...
they didn't take over our democracy. If it was democracy, they wouldn't have taken over. They're taking over what we are doing now, which is not democracy.
So is it that... Some people say that because the political class are mismanaging, like you said, the party determines everything, one governor determines everything. So a lot of people are wronged, a lot of wrong things happen, and people have to approach the judiciary to make those decisions. So are we blaming the judiciary?
Is it a matter of blame the system that made it possible for the judiciary to be the electoral body? The people are supposed to vote for people, and then when they vote for body, they make it impossible for the people to truly elect those they want. And so you go to the court, and the court now decides that, oh, okay, this is who. Look, we have just taken politics and made a complete mess of it.
You've been around. You're going to be 85. You've been governor. You were in most of the constitutional conferences and all that. Can you tell me sincerely, how should we go?
We have to
How should we address these problems that are trying to be intractable?
Okay. What worked for us before took 7 years of negotiation. We don't have to have another 7 years of negotiation, but we have to admit that what we have today, the constitution we have today, is not a constitution made by Nigerians for Nigerians. There must be a constituent assembly, not the National Assembly. I say a constituent, because we did not vote for them to go and write a constitution for us. No. So so we have to have a constituent assembly that's elected purely and only to go and write a constitution and then you have a referendum on the text of and once it is passed, it becomes law.
But who will enable this constituent assembly? I mean, we've tried a couple of times. By the time the committee of the House or the committee of the National Assembly start going to the governors, it comes to nothing. Who will enable this body that you're talking about? Is it the president? Is it by executive promulgations, or is it by the National Assembly?
The problem was always based on sovereignty. You can't have two sovereign bodies acting together. So the National Assembly has to empower the president to set up such an assembly, and the assembly must be composed of people that are truly elected by their people, and then they go there and write a constitution that will not be subject to any approval by the National Assembly. As I said, we just have a referendum on it, and when you finish, it becomes the constitution.
You know, we're talking about Nigeria, and I'm forgetting that tomorrow is your birthday, 85. It's not something, it's a big thing. How do you intend to celebrate? How do you want to celebrate? I know that when you were 80, I think it was the government of Obong that celebrated, and that was when the international airport was named after you.
Yes.
By the way, how do you feel about that?
I feel very happy that at least I thank God, because he didn't need to do it, but he did it. But I think it's quite justified, because let me not sound like I'm playing my hand, but not many people would have been able to overcome the obstacles that were given to build an airport. So I thank God they recognized it and they did it for me. I really am eternally grateful to God. As I said, it didn't have to be, but he did it. And I'm very pleased.
So this time, how are you doing it? Is it?
This time I'm just going to, if they see, because of the hotel and the golf, there's always been a golf tournament on my birthday, or by the time of my birthday, by the international golf. It now become an international golf tournament. So there will be an international golf tournament. Saturday the 18th, there's a golf tournament. On Monday, the 20th, my actual birthday, there's going to be a lecture. One of my former commissioners, one very bright, very forward-thinking, forward-looking commissioners, was my commissioner for science, who is now the DG of the Attah Institute in Jos. He will give me a lecture on my philosophy of technology development and Obong on my birthday, and bring it under the auspices of the New Book Club, which is quite a well-known book club in Nigeria, in fact, internationally now. And then nothing else, because I don't want to give thanks before the actual birthday. So I have to wait until the following Sunday, which is Sunday the 26th, to have a Thanksgiving Mass. And then invite some people to my house for a reception. That's how I intend to celebrate it. Quite low-key, but I must thank God for making it possible for me to see 85 and still able to talk to you as I'm doing.
Finally, in very short sentences, what kind of future do you see for Nigeria? What kind of future do you wish for Nigeria?
The future I see for Nigeria, if we don't change, is that it will crash. The country will collapse. Whatever may be the consequences.
If we don't do what we need to do.
If we don't do what we need to do. But the future that I wish for Nigeria, we will some, in fact, it doesn't even take courage. Common sense to know that we don't want this country to crash. And therefore do the right thing, which is change what we are doing now. Go back to a system that will allow us to be productive and instead of allocating, we'll be generating income to a large extent get out of this debt situation. Because accountability, bring down corruption. I'm amazed I'm taking you back to hear that, oh, somebody bought a yacht for the president, but it was not in the budget. 5 billion yacht was not in the budget. I mean, what are we talking about? So is this money, honestly, I find it difficult to even begin to understand. So corruption will be brought down, and we have to become, we just have to know that we want to build this country by ourselves, otherwise we have no country.
Obong Victor Attah, I must thank you so much for your time and for talking with us, and wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. That was our interview with Obong Victor Attah, former governor of Akwa Ibom State, bringing our program to an end. Thanks for watching. Remember, you can join us on our social media handles. You can also go to www.signaturetv.org to watch this program and watch our older programs. I am Vin Martin Obiora Ilo from Abuja, Nigeria, thanking you once again for watching.